The music stopped. My heart did too. And in that moment, I realized that my life, the one I thought I knew, was over forever. Hey girls, I'm Jessica, and today I'm going to tell you the most devastating, most shocking, and most painful story of my life. A story that completely changed me, that still gives me chills 3 years later when I think about it. Get ready, because what I'm about to tell you isn't one of those romantic stories with a happy ending. It's not even one of those typical cheating stories you might have heard before. This is the story of how I discovered that the man I had loved for 6 years, who I had just married hours earlier, had been lying to me about his deepest identity. And I discovered everything during our first wedding dance. But before I get to that terrible moment, to that discovery that destroyed and then rebuilt me, I need to tell you everything from the beginning. Because to truly understand what happened that evening of June 15, 2021, you need to know our story. You need to understand who David and I were, how much we loved each other, or how much I thought we loved each other, and how I could have been so blind to all the signs that now, in hindsight, seem as obvious as billboards. So get comfortable, grab something to drink, because this story is long and intense. And I'm warning you right now, there will be moments when you'll want to turn off the video in anger, others when you'll cry with me, and still others when you'll wonder how such things can happen in real life. But please, stay with me until the end. Because this story, however painful, has an important message that every woman should hear. Who we were, the birth of an apparent love. My story with David begins 6 years before that cursed wedding, when we were both 22 years old. We were in college, I was studying psychology, he was studying engineering. We met during a frat party, one of those chaotic college nights where everyone drinks too much and has fun like there's no tomorrow. I remember perfectly the moment I first saw him. He was leaning against the bar counter with a beer in his hand, laughing at something his friend had said. He had these incredible blue eyes, brown hair that was always a little messy, and that crooked smile that made your heart melt. He was tall, athletic. He played intramural soccer with his coursemates, and had this natural confidence that made him magnetic. But you know what struck me most? The way he looked at me when our eyes met. It wasn't the usual college pickup look. It was intense, almost surprised, as if he too had felt that spark I had felt. He approached, offered me a drink, and we started talking. And girls, we talked all night. I don't even know how it happened, but at 7 in the morning we were still there, sitting on the university steps, telling each other our life stories as if we'd known each other forever. David was born in Chicago, like me. Middle-class family, father an engineer, mother a teacher. He had an older brother already married and a dog he adored. He dreamed of opening his own design firm, maybe specializing in sustainable architecture. He was passionate about movies, read a lot, rare among the guys I knew, and had this passion for travel that had immediately won me over. Someday, he had told me that first night, I want to visit all the continents. And I hope to do it with someone special. The way he had said it, looking straight into my eyes, had made my heart beat so hard I was sure he could hear it. From that night, we never left each other's side. David was the perfect boyfriend, the one all my friends envied me for. He was attentive, romantic, present. He brought me flowers for no reason, wrote me sweet messages during the day, remembered all our anniversaries, even the silly ones like 6 months since our first kiss or 1 year since you first said I love you. With my family, he was perfect. My father, who was usually very protective and suspicious of my boyfriends, had accepted him immediately. He's a good guy, he always said. You can see he loves you. My mother literally adored him. She always cooked his favorite dishes when he came to dinner at our house, and he always helped her clear the table and wash the dishes. He had practically become a son to them. And me? I was madly in love. I thought I had found the man of my life. The one to grow old with, to build a family with, to realize all the dreams we had shared during those long nighttime conversations. David made me feel special, protected, loved. When I was with him, the world made sense. During college we lived through all the typical moments of a young couple in love. The first vacations together, a weekend in Napa Valley that I still remember as one of the most beautiful of my life. The nights spent studying together in the university library, him with his engineering projects, me with my psychology books. Dinners with friends, parties, movies, walks along Lake Michigan. Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect, maybe. The college years and the best friend. During these years I also got to know Tyler, David's best friend since childhood. Tyler was the complete opposite of David, shorter, more extroverted, always the center of attention. He had this magnetic personality that attracted everyone, but with me he had always been a bit cold, distant. Not rude, mind you, but never really warm. At first I thought it was normal. You know how some male friends are, a bit jealous when their best friend finds a serious girlfriend. But over time I started noticing strange things about their relationship. First, they saw each other a lot. More than was normal, even for two best friends. David went out with Tyler at least 3 times a week. Soccer on Tuesday, drinks on Thursday, night out on Saturday. At first I didn't pay attention to it. In fact, I was happy that David had such a solid friendship. But when I started complaining that we spent little time together, David would stiffen. Tyler has been my best friend since we were 8 years old, he would tell me. I can't abandon him for a girl. A girl. Not my girlfriend, not the woman I love. A girl. Second, the way they looked at each other. They had this very intense nonverbal language, made of knowing looks, complicit smiles, jokes that only they understood. Initially I thought it was normal. I also have this kind of complicity with my best friends. But there was something different about their looks. Something I couldn't decipher, but that made me uncomfortable. Third, Tyler had never had a serious relationship. In 6 years, I had never seen him with a girl for more than a few weeks. He's made that way, David would explain to me. He's a free spirit, he doesn't want to commit. But Tyler was 28 years old, the same age as David. He wasn't a kid anymore. And then there were the phone calls. David and Tyler talked every day, often multiple times a day. And when David's phone rang and he saw it was Tyler, his face would light up in a particular way. A way that, I must admit, bothered me. Because it was the same way his face lit up when he saw me, but maybe even more so. Once, during our 4th year of college, I made a joke about this thing. Are you two getting married? I said laughing, after David had interrupted our dinner to answer a call from Tyler that lasted 20 minutes. David didn't laugh. He became serious, almost annoyed. Don't say stupid things, Jessica. Tyler is my best friend, that's all. But the way he had said it, the tension in his voice, had given me my first doubts. Doubts that I immediately suppressed, though, because David was my boyfriend, he loved me, we were building a life together. And above all, because the idea that there could be something else between him and Tyler was so absurd, so far from my reality, that I couldn't even seriously consider it. If only I had known how wrong I was. Graduation and first life projects together. We graduated a few months apart from each other. I graduated in July with summa cum laude in psychology. My thesis was on identity disorders, irony of fate, and David in October with honors in engineering. They were intense months, full of studying and stress, but also of projects for the future. When we've both graduated, David would tell me, we'll really start our life together. We had already talked about marriage, naturally. Not in a concrete way, but as something that would happen sooner or later. In a few years, David always said. When we have a stable economic situation. After graduation, David immediately found a job at an important engineering firm in Chicago. I started an internship at a clinical psychology center. We got an apartment together, a nice 2-bedroom in Lincoln Park, nothing luxurious, but it was ours, and we were thrilled. Living together was beautiful, at least at first. David was a perfect roommate, organized, clean, always willing to cook when I came home tired from work. In the evening we would curl up on the couch to watch Netflix, or talk about our days. On weekends we explored Chicago like we were tourists, discovering new places, trying different restaurants. We made love regularly, and David seemed always involved and present. He wasn't particularly passionate or imaginative, but he was sweet, attentive to my needs. I thought it was simply his character. Not all men are Latin lovers, right? But here too, in hindsight, there were signs I should have noticed. David was never the one who took the initiative in intimacy. I was always the one to make the first move, and he would follow, but without that urgency, that passion you'd expect from a young man in love. Sometimes, during our most intimate moments, he seemed distant. Physically present, but mentally elsewhere. Once I asked him if something was wrong, if maybe I wasn't satisfying him enough. "No, honey," he had replied. "It's just that I'm not very expressive about these things. But I love you, never doubt that." And I believed him. Because I wanted to believe him. Meanwhile, Tyler was increasingly present in our lives. He came to dinner at our place at least once a week, often spent weekends with us, even had keys to our apartment for emergencies. I tried to be welcoming, to consider him part of the family, but there was always this subtle tension that I couldn't explain. Tyler treated me with courtesy, but never with warmth. It was as if I were an obstacle between him and David, something to tolerate but not truly accept. And David, when Tyler was around, became different. More lively, more present, more happy? It was as if Tyler could bring out a part of him that I couldn't reach. But again, I ignored these signs. Because the alternative was too scary to consider. The marriage proposal, the most beautiful moment, I thought. After 2 years of living together, David started talking more seriously about marriage. "I think it's time," he had told me one evening, while we were having dinner on our balcony. "We have a stable situation, we love each other, we've built something beautiful together. Why wait any longer?" My heart had jumped with joy. Finally, after 6 years together, David was ready to take the big step. We had started talking about when, where, how. I dreamed of a wedding in Napa Valley. He preferred something more traditional in Chicago. In the end we had found a compromise. Blackstone Hotel, a dream location in downtown Chicago, elegant enough for a traditional ceremony but with that romantic atmosphere I had always wanted. And then came the real proposal. David had organized everything down to the smallest detail. A trip to California, to Big Sur, for our 7th anniversary. "Just you and me," he had said. "A romantic week to celebrate everything we've built together." Tyler, obviously, wasn't happy about this vacation. "Couldn't you all go together?" he had said when David announced it to him. The tone was joking, but I had perceived a hint of genuine disappointment. As if the idea of spending a week without David really bothered him. "Tyler, it's our anniversary," David had replied, but he too seemed a bit uncomfortable with his friend's reaction. Anyway, we left. Big Sur was magical. 5 days of sun, ocean, romantic dinners, breathtaking sunsets. David was more present than usual, less distracted by his phone, more focused on us. It was as if, away from Chicago and Tyler, he could finally be completely mine. The proposal came on the 4th day, during the most beautiful sunset I had ever seen. We were on the terrace of our hotel, overlooking the Pacific, the sun diving into the ocean painting the sky 1,000 colors. David had seemed nervous all afternoon. He kept touching his jacket pocket and looking at me with a strange expression. And then, suddenly, he got down on one knee. "Jessica," he began, and his voice was trembling slightly. "You are the most important woman in my life. In these 6 years, you have made me the happiest man in the world. You have taught me what it means to truly love. You have supported me in all my dreams. You have given me a stability I didn't think I could find." He pulled out a little blue velvet box. Inside was the most beautiful ring I had ever seen, a solitaire with a perfect diamond, exactly as I had always dreamed. "Will you marry me? Will you build the rest of our life together?" I said yes before he even finished the sentence. I was in tears, he was in tears. We hugged and kissed while the sun finished setting behind us. It was the most beautiful moment of my life, or at least I thought so then. That night we made love with a passion we had never had before. David seemed truly involved, present, in love. It was as if the proposal had freed something in him, a part of himself he kept hidden. If only I had known that passion wasn't for me, but for the idea of what I represented for him: normalcy, social acceptance, the perfect cover. Wedding preparations. Between joy and first suspicions. The return from California was a whirlwind of emotions and preparations. We had to organize everything in 10 months. We had chosen June of the following year as our wedding date. The Blackstone Hotel was available on June 15, 2021, a date that seemed perfect to me: late spring, high probability of good weather, and above all symbolic because it was exactly 6 months after our 7th anniversary. The first months of preparations were beautiful. We went together to choose everything: the menu, the flowers, the music, the invitations. David seemed as involved and enthusiastic as I was. We had even taken dance lessons for the first dance. We had chosen Perfect by Ed Sheeran, a song that had special meaning for us because we had listened to it during our first vacation together. But then, gradually, things started to change. At first they were small things, almost imperceptible.